Cool. Thank you, Christina, and welcome back to the MSBuild live stage. I am Damian Brady. I'm joined today by Matteo Collina. Matteo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Damian.
Awesome. So, Matteo, you are one of the maintainers of Fastify.js, correct?
Yes.
But you're also one of the co-organizers of NodeConf EU, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a Node-based conference based in
Europe, Ireland.
In Ireland?
Yes, it's organized by the company I work for, NearForm. We are a Node.js professional services company. We help companies build, deploy, manage, whatever, JavaScript application, both on the front end and on the back end.
Right. So the point is that you know Node, right? You are.
Yeah, I'm part of the Node.js Technical Steering Committee as well. So
okay.
So yeah,
right.
I know Node pretty.
Yep. Awesome. So you are one of the maintainers of a tool called Fastify, or a framework called Fastify.js, right? For those of us who don't know, I'm not huge in the JavaScript community. I do a little bit, but I don't do a lot. What is Fastify?
Okay. So. At some point, some years ago, I was getting a little bit frustrated on the status of the frameworks in Node.js and of the web frameworks in Node.js. I didn't see much innovation happening in that space anymore. That space, if you know Node, you probably have used Express, and Express dominates the ecosystem. But I didn't see much innovation happening anymore in that regard. In fact, Express has been stable for such a long time. And so I started to think about what were the major things that wanted to do differently and want to innovate. And I wanted to see a better use of the new language primitives that were introduced in the JavaScript language, from async await, promises, TypeScript support, great TypeScript support, and all those things that developers use these days. On top of that, I really want to provide a better performance out of the tool. I wanted to create a framework that was a zero-cost abstraction. And in order to do this, I had another goal. And I wanted to create building. I don't know if you ever tried to build a framework. An HTTP framework. Don't do this. Okay, I've done it. Don't do it. Like, it's an impressive journey. It's super hard. There's a lot of things to consider. It took the framework is 3 years old, and it took us more or less 2 years before becoming like production grade. And the reason why we were able to do this was because we focused on community first.
Okay.
So we started building a maintainers community from day zero. So I started working on this thing together with a friend of mine called Thomas de la Vedova, and basically when we had 0 lines of code. So essentially, I really wanted to do it, but my first goal was, can I convince somebody else to do it with me?
Okay.
And that's how right now, I think we have 11 active contributors on the framework.
I was going to ask, so it is an open source framework.
It's an open source framework with an open community. It's very easy to contribute to the framework. We are very friendly in reviewing your code. We're also very strict, so there's a lot of iteration on the pull requests, but this enables us to keep the same level and the same high quality level that we have in all the frameworks. So.
And that was kind of a key guiding principle, right? Was to be able to enable the community to contribute
in
a meaningful way, without impacting the performance and the quality of what
exactly.
was there.
And this is why the CI infrastructure and the CI pipeline was super important.
Yeah.
Also, Fastify is a great user experience and developer experience out of the box. So all of that together means that I wanted to have a great user experience, but also a great way of developing the frameworks itself. So,
of course. So let's talk about that a little bit, the build and CI process and so on. Because if you have these two potentially competing aims, you have the ability for anybody to contribute, but you still want to maintain that quality. You don't want contributors to submit code that is going to break something unexpected. This is where a good CI pipeline comes in. So
one of the hardest thing for us has been to provide an environment where developers using whatever machines that I am a very Unix person. So I code on VI, I use Tmax, and I don't care, essentially.
Yeah,
and
right.
this is whatever. Like, I'm oblivious to a lot of other things that are happening in the developer community, to say in that regard. Been using those tools forever. But a lot of other people are not friendly tools. The tools that I use are not friendly tools.
No.
Not
I would not be using Vim or Vi.
I know, but you should.
I tried once, but I couldn't close
you probably
it, so
still
that machine,
you probably haven't exited yet. If
yeah,
you tried
the
once.
machine's open in my desk at home. I can't get rid of it. Yeah.
So essentially, it's one of the things was providing a really good developer. A really good way for developer using Mac, Linux, and Windows to contribute to the framework itself.
Yep.
The reason is we had some problems in the past that things were not really working on Windows. And that was a very big problem and very frustrating for our users as well. So in order to address those, we had to add to test everything also on Windows. On top of that, we also wanted to test everything on Yarn. Because I don't know if you know about the Node ecosystem. There is NPM, which is the default package manager, but you can also use a thing called Yarn, which is also very popular in the React community, especially. So that Yarn, but is slightly different. So we wanted to make sure that our setup was also work complete, 100% working with Yarn.
So that means that every single time somebody submits code, you need to make sure it works on Windows and Linux and Mac,
yes.
and Yarn, and NPM.
On 4 different versions of Node on all of those.
On 4 different versions of Node as well. Okay.
So it's a lot of CI runs.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of CI runs.
So that was obviously something that you started doing quite early in the project, I'm guessing?
Yes. At the beginning, we were testing only with Travis. That was not enough on Linux. That was definitely not enough. Then we started testing on... then we needed to test, we wanted to test Windows. We tried AppVeyor. Okay. Now, doing a build on AppVeyor on 4 different versions of Node was taking us maybe half an hour to an hour, which was a huge turnaround time, especially when we wanted to cut releases. So we really wanted to make sure that all the tests were passing before our release was cut. And so it means there was always this back and forth process of waiting AppVeyor to finish.
Of course.
Also, on top of that, there was some other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, so it was Travis and AppVeyor were the 2 things that you tried. And spoiler alert, you tried Azure Pipelines.
Yeah, so there was a couple of things that went to Azure Pipelines. So the first thing that came to us was because of how slow up and how flaky AppVeyor was for us.
Okay.
So all of this in the open source version. By the way, we are not paying a dime to anybody. So thank AppVeyor, thank Travis, thank Azure Pipelines. We are all on freeware. Sorry. And AppVeyor was too slow, and we tried Azure Pipelines at the beginning to change from AppVeyor to Azure Pipelines to speed up our Windows build, and we also added the Yarn build on Fastify on pipelines as well, because of it's super fast.
Yeah, and so this is some of the advantages of open source tooling like this, right? You can have your CI builds in Travis and in AppVeyor and in Azure Pipelines, for example. You can use all of those things to see what works for you.
Yeah. And by the way, those are great tools, and I'm a fan of Travis. It works really well. It was not, and AppVeyor as well, I used in a lot of projects. It's just that with this, we have a lot of tests, huge amount of that. We'll see that in a moment. But
yeah, we'll have a look in a sec.
We have a lot of things to check. Web framework is a very, very complex beast. Let me just say this. Don't try making one at home. And so basically we had to do a lot of work and make sure that that everything was running smoothly. That's it. So
you made the decision to give Azure Pipelines a go. I think you mentioned to me before, part of it is because we do have hosted build agents for Windows, Linux, and Mac, correct? So you could test across these operating systems relatively.
Yes, that was one of the key parts. We wanted to reach the point where we had a tool where we don't have to rely on 2 or 3. We want to reach a point where we don't have to rely on 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, different providers for to simplify maintenance, more or less. Also, when you're choosing a CI system, you want something that is very stable. So you don't want botched builds. You don't want flaky tests. Now, flaky tests are a really bad thing, okay? Because they can. You want an environment where if a test fails, it means that there is a bug.
Yes, yeah, the test should pass every time, otherwise it doesn't.
Yes, and with some of those, both with recently with Travis and before that with Azure Pipelines, we ended up, and before that with Upveyor, we had some flakiness that was introduced by the platform itself.
Yep, so you want to get rid of that. I'm going to jump in. I want to show people what this pipeline looks like.
Yeah.
So if we can jump to that screen that I've got here, we should be able to see Fastify.io, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit.
Yay! Hi!
Yeah.
That's a nice logo,
You're familiar
right?
with that website?
So you need to, if you build a web framework, whatever, you need to have a nice logo, okay?
Nice logo. Logo first, then URL.
That's the first thing that you need, a nice logo. We had a very bad logo before that, so just saying.
And then, of course, it's on GitHub, right? It's an open source project.
If you go back to the site for 1 second, just to show you what this look like, if you can scroll down a bit, you can see it's used by some companies around. You can see it's very similar to Express. Stay there, go up. Yeah, stay there at the top. You can define your routes using async await and all the cool stuff that you can want to expect. Cool. It also supports TypeScript, by the way.
Awesome. So the code itself is in GitHub. The first thing I noticed when I came here as well as the amazing logo, great job on the logo, we've got all these build badges, which is really common, and one of them is the Azure Pipelines one.
Yeah.
And so the project itself is public, but as well as that, the Azure pipeline is publicly listed as well.
Yes.
So I'm not logged in at all. I have no special access to your Azure Pipelines instance, but I can see the build result.
Yes. Oh, and you can also see our configs, which took a significant amount of time to do. So go and copy it.
Yes. So we can see it's running Yarn, different versions of Node, Windows, different versions there. We can see the whole logs from everything that's happening as well. I think I chose the worst task.
Yeah, you should look at the run test ones. That's the only one with some meaningful things. Run tests.
Run tests, okay.
This is a lot of output.
So a lot of this stuff is, you've made this available to the public. There's a lot of output here. On the tests, because I want to make sure we get to all the things that are really exciting about this. We get our summary of exactly what's happened. We can see the process of these builds as they've gone through. We get code coverage support. I'll look at that in a second. You can see the code coverage across your tests. We even get our tests that have succeeded. And now this is Node, right? It's still, you're publishing these test results up to Azure Pipelines, and we're seeing, your failing tests over time, how they're performing now. So you get this nice graph, even though it's Node, it's not .NET, it's not Microsoft stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one was the code coverage. That is a lot of tests, by the way. That's impressive. Nicely done. And 99.99% pass percentage is pretty good too. But code coverage as well was one of the cool things. So we can actually see the code coverage. And this is a cobertura. Is that the name? Sorry? Cobertura?
No, so it is the thing. Now, it is the fun stuff about this, the integration, the glue. So essentially, in order to get our code coverage output digestible for Azure Pipelines, we convert our results to this format. It's called Cobertura, which is a format invented in the Java era, like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or something, which is a format for this type of data that Azure Pipeline can digest. So what we do is we generate that file, and then that file, we upload that file to Azure Pipelines. So that's the flow.
Right.
And we do a similar things for our tests to get the test data in there. So in order to get the test data, we need to convert it to some JUnit format, which is a little bit obscure. So check out our configuration, because it's there is some time to save, by the way.
Yes. So you have this across a couple of things. I just want to show this summary. We've only got about a minute left, so I just want to jump into this stuff really quickly. This is a deep link into the commit that was changed, but I think you were showing me before the way that the templates are set up. You have a separate template for NPM and Yarn, and then you have a reference to that template from Azure Pipelines.
Yes.
And you're using cool things like matrix strategies so that you're actually building these things in parallel, running these builds in parallel in these different environments. So I would highly suggest, if you're going to look at doing this kind of stuff, definitely have a look at the way that that you guys have done it for
Yes,
Fastify.
oh, definitely. Like, once I've done this, I've copy and pasted this stuff into maybe, I don't know, 20 different projects already.
Yep.
Like, copy and paste this stuff. Just go and steal it. It's fine.
Yeah, definitely. So github.com Fastify or fastify.io is the project.
Yeah, fastify.io, yeah.
Okay.
That's the website. You can find all the links.
Yeah, and you can follow the links there and use that framework. Any final messages just before we carry over from the end of this show?
When we started working on, when we started evaluating Azure Pipelines as a tool, we had we encountered some bugs on Azure Pipelines itself, and I've been amazed by the level of, even if you were open source, like for free type of things, of the high quality level of support that the Azure Pipelines team has given us. I would want to thank Martin Woodward.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce this, I'm sorry. Martin Woodward for providing to fix that bug for us in a matter of a couple of days, because we were basically blocked. And we were just super frustrated because we really wanted to use this. It was solving all our problems, minus this thing that was actually preventing us to use it, so rolling it out.
That's so good that you got that support from the team, and it's fantastic to see how much success you're having with this as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It has been fantastic for us. We are also migrating other. So Fastify is built. It's built as a plugin-based system. Mm-hmm. So we are also migrating some of the plugins to Azure Pipelines as well. Again, for having better testing, better Windows testing. I wanted to say one quick thing that...
We've got to make it quick because we've got to jump off.
Yes, they're kicking us out. The total build time, we cut down our total build time from 20, 30 minutes, 1 hour, to 1 hour to like 10 minutes with this.
Awesome.
So it's the level of quality of the builds and the speed of them, it's phenomenal. So
awesome.
Thank you.
I'm going to wrap. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us and showing us this. I'm actually going to send you off for a quick break, and we will be back with Anders Halsberg discussing inside TypeScript. Send him your questions, the hashtag MSBuild, and the link below. Yes.